I think that everybody had a good time. So bear in mind, like everything else that we do, it's only really possible with the support of the community and you guys, when you kind of show up and try and give your opinions and your support and all the rest. It is very important. So we really appreciate it. Some people traveled quite far yesterday to join in from all the way across Spain to meet us. So that was really, really appreciated as well. Today we've kind of been working on a few of the marketing things as well. It's gone quite well. I think you guys have probably seen, I've seen some people mention it in the chat. You guys have probably seen some of the fruits of our efforts in terms of the kind of partnerships and feedback that we've got from some of the influencers who posted about us in the past while. Also, we have some interesting PR and other things coming out over the next few hours and the next few days, actually. So, as you guys know, the Mainnet is dropping next week. Things are very intense at the moment within the Cherry project, but it's going quite well. And you're going to see kind of a peak of things start to peak a little bit in terms of the output of marketing that we put out between now and when the Mainnet launches. But one thing that I have to always clarify to people that is that just because we started up the Mainnet, that will not have meant that everything is done. It's still very important to onboard as many interesting projects as possible, to empower developers to build on the Cherry chain, and to kind of try and foster as much of a sense of community as possible with all the different ecosystem projects. And to that end, it's very important that we kind of keep pushing onwards. Even after we've released the Mainnet, it'll be a great occasion. And it'll be a big milestone, especially for our development team. Herman and the guys have been working extremely hard for years on this now. So it'll be a great opportunity for those guys and their work to be recognized. But from a business perspective, and for us in the community and those of us working on the business side of Cherry, it really just marks the moment where we actually have to keep working from then. That's when the hard work really starts. So I'd encourage you guys to be excited about the Mainnet launching, but please keep your eye out for the efforts that we're going to be putting in from then onwards as well. We have made the decision a while back, which I spoke about, was to not simply just condense and kind of throw all of our marketing resources at the actual Mainnet launch day itself. We're going to try and spread it out so that even after the initial hype has died down a little bit, we'll still have a lot of people talking about Cherry and all the interesting things that are happening. Because of course, a Mainnet isn't really something in and of itself to be too proud of. We want people to use it. That's the important thing. It's not just a piece of code. It's code that will be used. So that should be interesting. I spoke to a few of you guys yesterday about the kind of marketing stuff that we're doing. I mentioned that we would have more and more buzz kind of building up yesterday and today, and that has been the case. So I'm glad that our community have kind of seen some of the things that we've been doing, and that they've responded positively to that. I would just to repeat, I'd encourage you to just like keep an eye out on various social channels for some of the things that we're going to be publishing over the next few days, etc. So it should be fun. With that in mind, I'm going to quickly look through the chat, and I'm going to see if there's any questions that I can address right now. I don't think so. There has been a small issue. So basically, the quiz, the last couple of quiz winners still have to get their prizes, but I'm going to make sure that happens in a couple of hours. And then the quiz at the end, John will be doing that. That should go live in about 40 minutes or so. The winners from that quiz as well will be given their prizes too. So if you haven't been paid your hard-earned quiz cash over the past couple of weeks, bear with me. and I'll make sure to have it done today at the very latest. Okay, so I'm not going to drone on for much longer. I'm going to try and get Herman in to see if he can give us any updates. If he's ready, well and good. Maybe he wants to wait till later on, and we can just go ahead with Marv and Diego. Which would you prefer, Herman?
I'm ready. I don't really have a lot to say. I'm sure people have a lot of questions and uncertainties about the mainnet. As I mentioned yesterday, I want to assure everybody that it's on schedule. You would be impressed. You frankly would not expect this from purely paid employees. All of the Cherry team and beyond have been working on this day and night, on testing, that everything will work, including the the initial release phase, which has some unique aspects. So it's good that we're aware of what the issues of these may be, and we're prepared to, I'm pretty sure, address all of them. Furthermore, so beside testing and boring technical details I won't bore you with, we have a lot of tooling upgrades that are scheduled for the next few days and weeks. I've mentioned the bridge before. That and further interoperability architecture will be, or infrastructure will be available as soon as within hours. We're working on various updates to the blockchain UI. You can visit the testnet one at cherry.place. We try and keep cherry.place updated with the latest stable version. If you want to review the updates that the team is pushing there too, you can just check the relative repository. So there's a lot of activity there too. So to address the more general questions, how do I spin up a node? How do I bridge my tokens? How do I become a validator? How do I stake? We will be supplementing our documentation significantly. We already started. We'll probably have the first of this now, I would say 3 or 4 section push of our documentation, probably done by tomorrow. In addition to documentation where we try to explain how the software logic works, perhaps give a more low-level explanation of why some design choices were made. We also aim to provide a set of tutorials that will guide you in a bit more interactive way, in a bit more user-friendly way, in the use of Cherry and many of its features in a separate venue. So the documentation will be available at docs.cherry.network. The tutorials will be available in a separate venue that will be announced shortly. That's quite exciting, frankly. Yeah, we're going to work on that probably starting from next week. We'll push out the more basic requirements, such as how do I make an account? How do I download the extension wallet to inject my account to the blockchain interface? How do I confirm that transaction actually happened or not? How do I not get scammed? And various other tutorials of the sort. We'll probably start off with that and then get to more complex issues like how do I deploy my own token, which will be quite easy with Cherry. So with that said, I think that covers most of what we worked on the past week, and we'll continue working on in the next few days. I won't give you specific details, so don't ask about when the mainnet will drop and what specific features will be active or not. We've already explained quite eloquently that staking will not be enabled until at least 7 days after the mainnet release. We'll explain exactly what that means. We'll make it as clear as possible for everybody to start earning interest on your tokens, but there won't be any asymmetry in information. You won't have information that if you enact earlier, you get special benefits over not having it or not responding to it earlier. So don't ask. So in that theme of how information is conveyed, and also to give an overview of what we've done the prior week, what we're aiming to achieve the present week, as well as the broader roadmap. So collocating our various efforts within a broader quarter by quarter goal list. This probably the next 24 hours. I know I've promised this earlier, but and that never happened. Probably sooner rather than later, we'll be releasing a. I previously referred to it as an accountability dashboard. We've now renamed it to a project diary, and in this project diary, which will be a website with primarily two sections: a diary with a week-by-week account of what I just described, what we aim to achieve the present week, what we had achieved the prior week, and various changes in the broader effort, and a separate section for the broader effort will be structured as a roadmap. We're aiming to get that published soon, and hopefully will help ease uncertainties, facilitate communication, and let everybody across the ecosystem, community, etc., have a central point where they can access information, the latest information from the project leaders, conveyed in a quite standardized and comprehensive and synthetic format. So I'm quite excited about that. Also, in the vein of transparency and so forth, that is quite interesting to me. I've spoken about this at length before. So if you have any other questions, I'll be here. But if there's anything specific to how do I do this, how do I do that, my suggestion to you is either wait for the documentation or the higher level representation of documentation, which is the tutorials. And if you have any questions about, well, when can we expect this, or what have you done about that, we will shortly be publishing this project area, which will provide, I think, as comprehensive as an answer that we can provide to that question, to that set of questions as well.
Thank you, Herman. There was an interesting question with regards to the kind of nomenclature around layer 0 and layer 1. Someone asked, how can Cherry be a layer 0 blockchain if it's built on parity substrate? Does not inherently make it a layer 1 since it has that dependency? I mean, that's not really, I think you can clarify.
I can answer that. The answer is quite brief. So Substrate is a framework to build blockchains. Blockchains are a data structure. The framework provides certain libraries that, as you can use, NumPy or Flask, whatever, in Python, you can simply import to build your application. There's nothing restrictive about a framework, really. You can use Substrate for whatever you want. The difference between layer 1 and layer 0 is pretty subtle. the idea is that layer one enables a virtual machine where smart contracts, so these logic abstractions are represented and can execute, whereas a layer zero aims to connect or centrally route different of such runtimes or different of such virtual machines that can act independent from one another. So there's not that much difference between the two, really, but for either the hype or far more low-level differentiations that I think aren't too relevant. They're just, again, design choices. They're not anything that's breaking or radically different between one and the other. The transition between layer one and layer two, we will indeed begin as a layer one. Is simply that we'll start off with a single chain, with a single state, with a single runtime. And as just like Substrate enables polka dots, we will shift the layer one that will be presently published as the main cherry node into a relay node, into what would be otherwise known as a layer zero, and then spin up other chains or other nodes, each specialized in their own logic domain, like EVM, we'll have one for the contracts palette of Substrate. These are smart contracts that are written in this language called Ink, and it's pretty cool. We have a bunch of documentation about that too, and thus essentially expanding. Really, it's not anything breaking or anything that's a significant change, but rather expanding, rather adding to the feature of the layer one, then layer zero, simply complementing further logic that isn't necessarily tied in or bound by the specifications or the computational requirements or limitations of the layer zero.
Yep, I think that's a very good way to describe it. I think in some ways the layer 2, 1, 0 kind of phrasing kind of confuses people sometimes, because it almost implies that you can't have, that one layer 0 shouldn't be able to interact to any extent with another, and then they're not as subsidiary to each other as you might think. It's more of a question, as Herman said, of design implications and design choices, and how a layer 1 can become a layer 0 just by changing how it actually operates with other entities. So yeah, I think that's a very appreciated clarification. I know there was another person had that question as well, so I'll forward on your answer to them, because it's a good way of describing how it happens in general and the implications that has for Cherish. So thank you, Herman. Are there any other questions in the chat of note right now? If not, we're gonna, I think, move on to Marv, and Marv can get started. I'll just check really quickly for more questions. So there's another question about listings, and I've already spoken at length about listings every single AMA, and I'm not really going to go into it too much now. But of course, what I'll repeat again is that we have team members who are specifically tasked with exploring and deciding and interacting with exchanges, and they do so every day, and they know exactly what the right strategy to approach this with is. So yeah, don't worry, we're not going to forget that we have to list it. It's going to happen sooner, probably sooner rather than later, so don't worry about that. But as I've explained before, we can't really go into details about these things. publicly before they happen, because that would actually jeopardize the listing itself, and nobody wants that. So, yep, that's the usual answer that I'll always give. I don't think there's any other questions that are standing out to me at the moment. If there are any that we've missed from the past couple of days, then we can address them later on. Yep, there's another question. As Herman said, staking is not live, and it will be live probably at least 7 days after the mainnet launch, which will happen next week. Okay, so that's the AMA and Herman's part done. Thanks, Herman. Much appreciated. I think what we're going to do is now move on to Marv. Marv, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Give me just a couple of seconds to get everything in order here.
Okay, go for it.
And then we can get started. All right. Give me a second, right? Yeah, wait, give me a second, guys. Running into something unexpected. Yes, I will. Yeah, all right, I'll just do it on this backdrop for now, because I'm having some issues with some other stuff. For Cherish, I would just like to go through what we've been planning over the next months and the next quarters, because it's important not to forget where we're working towards. We're always talking about the small incremental steps that we're taking with every project, but it's important to grasp the total range of ideas and plans we have for projects. So I'd like to go over that for a second too. Other than that, I'll give you guys a general explanation on the pulse of the projects first. We're just working towards our launch, making sure that everything is ready. Of course, this is with a lot of collaboration from Cherry Labs itself, because these things are very intertwined, and with every launch a lot of difficulties arise, and we have to be capable to address these issues. So the devs are hard at work making sure that everything is stable for our launch. Then, as you might have seen, a lot of marketing is happening right now, so that's been taking up a lot of our time as well, working with different partners to make sure everything comes out as we want to, and people have a nice view of what Cherry and Cherish and everything else in the ecosystem stands for. So that's something we're going for as well. Then, what are our plans for Q2 for Cherish? That start at the platform launch and the Cherry JS integration, and making sure the platform can functionally run. Then launch our pre-sale NFTs for everybody who invested in the pre-sale for Cherish. They are also still due an NFT that would be minted on the Cherry chain. Then implement our tipping and subscriptions, front-end overhaul, and get about 500 artists onboarded on the platform would be awesome. Then Cherish live events and Cherry live events. We've already been doing these, like yesterday, the one in Sevilla, which a lot of you Spanish speakers definitely enjoyed. And then we've already been doing featured artists. You see these pop up once in a while, and we want to highlight somebody we've come into contact with, or who's inspired us, and who's been inspired by us. And then staking. And then, of course, in the next quarters, we'll add commissions, accept credit cards, turn Cherish into a DAO, more events, as staking I already mentioned, but there's multiple parts of that. And then added media audio. And then at the end of the year, we want to have Cherish NFT Marketplace, e-commerce functionality, have an artist development fund, and videos. And that's just for this year. So as you can see, there's a lot of plans in place to make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. And after that, a lot more developments are taking place. But we focus on where we are right now, which is still a lot of work, and we're in to go and do the work. That was it for Cherish. I will now leave you to Diego for Seedling.
Thank you, Marv. How much of the details of the staking idea have we been able to announced to the community so far? I think there's still a lot of things that
No.
need to be.
Yeah, there's not much that has been said yet, and this is for good reason. I think we're gonna keep it this way for now because, um, yeah, we'll keep it this way for now because it's pretty innovative, and we don't want our competitors to get a wind of this and be the first ones to come out with it. So we're gonna keep it on the hush for now, but it's really exciting. That's all I can
Yeah,
say.
it is. It really is. Yeah. And it's very innovative. As Marv said, it's something that I'm quite excited to be able to talk to you guys about in the near future. So yeah, we'll get a move on with that, and we'll talk to you guys about it as soon as we can. Thank you very much, Marv.
Yeah.
Looks very positive over at Cherish, and we're very keen to see it get up and running. So thanks for that, Marv. And Marv, thanks very much for your continued audiovisual expertise with the AMAs and the events and all that kind of stuff. Cheers for that, and thanks for helping everything go smoothly. So much appreciated.
Happy to be here.
I think we're going to jump over to Diego now. He's ready to give a nice update about Seedling, and then I think we'll probably just jump straight into the quiz, and yeah, I'll just hand it over to Diego now.
Oops.
Yeah. Hello, guys. So first of all, as Eoghan mentioned before, I wanted to thank every single one of you guys that came through to the community meetup yesterday. I think it was very productive. We all learned something new, great feedback from people like Fran, for example, and reflections on how to do better. This is greatly appreciated to understand also the investor point of view. So thank you all for your efforts. I hope you had a nice time. So going on to the content, we've announced a partnership with Cryptogemas a couple of minutes ago. I was looking for a good moment to do so, and I thought today was the perfect timing. Again, strategical community partnership, trying to open our audience in Seedling to getting our name spread around. They will also be helping us out on project AMAs. Sorry. For certain projects that will be listed in Seedling. They want to participate on the AMAs in their channel, which is good news, focusing on getting new people interested in the Launchpad. Regarding marketing, which is a big word for the next week and month, as we are also working from the Seedling point of view, we've actually hired a new intern that will be helping us in many aspects of the Launchpad, and especially on the marketing side. So we will have another pair of hands to help regarding marketing, which is essential. This should also give us some fresh new opinion on how to get Seedling to be a reference Launchpad. Regarding influencer marketing, it's obviously something we've been working in. We did find some influencers and are planning the integration of Seedling in their social media with a correct calendar and timing. We are still looking to get some more on the next couple of days, also after the mainnet release, especially looking for specific communities to get more private personal content in order to get a much more organic growth. We will also get some help by our partners in Cherry, who will be supporting our campaign with their own marketing partners, which is great news. That they are happy to spend some of their resources to push around Seedling, which means they really believe in our team too. Which is obviously great news. We'll be looking at how to implement that too. And finally, we've been pushing some documentation of Seedling and making some creative information documents and infographics, which will also help us promote our marketing side. That was pretty much all from Seedling. We will be working and sending new information very soon, looking forward to the next weeks and see how we can develop everything in a much bigger way. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Diego. There are some very interesting things happening with Seedling that Diego has been working quite hard on, especially the kind of things that he mentioned in terms of our collaboration and partnership with interesting crypto communities and influencers. As I've mentioned before, we have from a marketing perspective, across the Cherry project, we try and take a more collaborative approach to how we interact with influencers. And influencers are in many ways the driving force behind the entire crypto industry from a marketing perspective. So what we try and do is we try and make sure that we have a kind of a more hands-on approach with them, because you can always just spend a ton of money and get people to shill your project. But what we try and do is instead we try and get them on side by just convincing them about the value of Cherry, and also the way that what they get out of it is they get better access to our project in terms of being able to find out what we're doing. And in the future, we're going to be spotlighting some creators and influencers who will take part in our AMAs and stuff like that. So that's a better approach. It's a more professional approach than what a lot of projects do, which is just paying for shields. So we have a vision at Cherry and across the Cherry ecosystem, which is to create real value. So it's important for us to interact with influencers that are really motivated by what's really going on in our project and in other projects, as opposed to people that are just doing it to just make some fast money. Because when you kind of have a project as with as much ambition as Cherry and all of our ecosystem projects, it's important to do things with a long-term view in mind. So Diego's been working quite hard to find good influencers, good opinion leaders in the crypto space who will in the future have a strong and long-term relationship with Seedling. And the same is true for the other influencers that we talk to with regards to Cherry. So that's quite positive. And we think that that's going to continue to give rewards to ourselves in the project and to the community for a long time to come. I know a lot of you guys, that's how you first heard about Cherry, was through some of the cool influencers that have talked about our project. And I think that you've seen over the past couple of days, the past 36 hours or so, we've been able to benefit from some of the buzz that's been created by our mainnet launch among these influencers. Because if you look at it from their perspective, it benefits them to talk about good projects as well, because then their followers gain more trust in their messaging and in their content. So that's the kind of win-win situation that we're going for, and so far it's been going well. And as I said already, expect that to increase not just between now and the mainnet launch next week, but continuously for a few months thereafter. As I mentioned earlier, we're not just targeting specifically the mainnet launch, but the days and weeks thereafter will be more important than the actual day of the launch itself. Not from a technical perspective, which is the most important one. Of course, the developers and their hard work is the most important thing. Cherry we're not a hype project. We're a technical project, first and foremost, a technology project. So the guys have worked very hard, and now it's just our job on the business side of Cherry and also in the community to just really recognize and boost the really, really hard work that Herman and the other developers have been putting in. I think maybe I'm thinking probably next week for the AMA, we might have, we had some cool Cherry devs talking to us before a few weeks ago during the AMAs. So I'm going to see with Herman, depending on how tired they are, because I know they've been working day and night. But if they have any energy left by next Wednesday, then we might get one or two of the devs to join in and tell us all about the really, really cool stuff that's happening, and that will have launched by then, by the mainnet launch. And just to clarify, there will be no delays. The guys have worked very hard to make sure that everything's going to go off without a hitch in the next few days within that window as planned. So that's all good news from Diego and Marv. So I think what we're going to do is proceed to the quiz. As I mentioned earlier, we've been a bit behind in giving out the rewards for the quiz winners for the last two AMAs. So, but I'll make sure that they're sorted today along with the winners from today's. So I believe that John, who is usually takes control of the AMA and the quiz stuff. I believe that he is actually traveling at the moment. He just mentioned to me that he won't be able to forward the messages. So I think I might do it, or maybe Marv will do it, because I know that he prepared them earlier